Okay, good night again and welcome to Reason and Truth Ministry. We are continuing our study on worldview, and this night, worldviews, and tonight we're going to be dealing with original sin. Okay? We're dealing with O, the acronym. Original sin. Who can tell me, what is sin?
Dys-Functionality.
Dys-functionality. Now, in today's culture, with all the prevailing worldviews, there are a lot of different ideas that we come up with or we come headlong with. And we as Judeo-Christian, we must be able to refute, we must be able to give an answer, we must be able to destroy these foolish ideas that are erected in the minds of individuals. Now, sin and evil, it goes hand in hand. When did sin begin? Who can tell me when sin began?
When Adam and Eve broke Jesus' law.
When Adam and Eve broke Jesus' law. That's very good.
Satan and Lucifer.
Okay. That's good. When it said?
Lucifer.
Lucifer. Sin began with Lucifer. And where was that?
In heaven.
And now it begs another question. How did sin begin with Lucifer? Now, original sin we're talking about, just now babes, original sin we're talking about origin. Right? Origin. So now, sin must have an origin. And if sin have an origin, it must come from a source. So remember your question, right? You said Lucifer, you said Adam and Eve. So now let's just run through a little history of it, and then we're going to go into this ramification of a discussion of it, right? And I'm reading here from Dr. Norman Geisler's Christian Apologetics Encyclopedia, Baker's. Okay, so if God is an absolute good, then why is there evil in the world? If God is an absolute good God, or He is absolute good, then why is there evil in the world? The problem of evil is a serious challenge to the defense of Christianity. So now when we hear about evil, it's a real challenge, because to have evil and to have good is somewhat, is a what? It's a contradiction. It's a contradiction, because if you have evil and you have good and absolute good, how then evil is possible? No, let those things mull over in your mind. There are many problems relating to evil. For example, the problem about original sin, its origin, nature, purpose, and avoidability, right? Because it have an origin, it has a nature, it's purposeful, and sometimes it feels like if it's unavoidable, right? From a human perspective. The problem of evil can be divided among moral, which is metaphysical, and moral, metaphysical, and physical. So now you're dealing with a moral element, metaphysical realm, and a physical realm. So now we know about moral evil, and we know about natural evil, which are the two most basic premise of evil. And then we have the metaphysical. So now if we're talking about moral, metaphysical, and physical, we dealing basically, you see again, the three premises. What are the three main worldviews we have? What are the three main worldviews? We have theism, naturalism, and transcendentalism, right? And now we have sin have what? It has a moral premise, it have a metaphysical premise, and it have a natural premise. So you know, each one is going to fit into these categories. Okay? Although every worldview has to deal with the problem of evil, it is an especially acute problem for theism. That's the problem that we run into when we're speaking with people, atheists, who now bring and present certain ideas to us. Men like Nietzsche, who came up with a lot of different ideas concerning evil. And if evil is such, then where is God? Right? Foucault. These guys, these are like the guys who came up with these ideas. Not men like Christopher Hitchens and these new atheists. Christopher Hitchens, what's his name? Sam Harris, and these new guys, the Four Horsemen. You know, they are like piggybacking on men like these vintage guys, like what's the guy I just called Nietzsche. Okay, all right. Of these three worldviews, atheism affirms the reality of evil and deny the reality of God. That is atheism. Okay? Pantheism affirms the reality of God but denies the reality of evil. Theism affirms the reality of both God and evil. So now you see, theism, it affirms both God and evil. So theism is telling you evil have a point of reference and God has a point of reference. Theism affirms the reality of both God and evil. Herein is the problem. How can an absolute good being, God, be compatible with evil? The opposite of good. How? How could an absolute good God have any kind of relationship with evil? As compared with other worldviews that affirm both God and evil, theism would seem to be in a more disadvantageous position. Finite Godism, for example, can claim that God desired to destroy evil but is unable to because he is limited in power. That is finite Godism. You know, God made the earth and what have you, and he's out there and everything, you know. So he don't have much power. So, you know, he leave us here. Men like, remember the president name who took out all the miracles out of the Bible? What's his name? The president of our country who took out all the miracle out, not Jonathan Edwards, Thomas Jefferson. He cut out all the miracle. He was more like a deist. You know, he thought that everything we got to do it for ourselves and we got to be proactive to help God out. Deism likewise can distance God from evil, but streaming that God is not immanent in this world. He's not here, he's distant. At least not supernaturally. We, on the other hand, we know that God, he does exist.
Amen.
And for pantheism, evil is a necessary part of the ongoing process of interaction of God and the world, this big mind. So pantheism is a continual, you need evil and you need good. It's like yin and yang, pantheism, so, you know, God is in all, God is all, and all the like. The origin of evil. Where did evil come from? Where did it come from? An absolute good God cannot create evil. Can an absolute good God create evil? No, can an absolute good God, listen, can an absolute good God create evil? Nor would it seem, can a perfect creator give rise to imperfection? Listen to that again. Would it seem, can a perfect creator give rise to imperfection? Whence then evil? Whence then evil? Can a perfect creature give rise to imperfection? So just as how you just said there, he created who? Lucifer. So then it begs the question, was Lucifer evil?
No.
Before he wasn't.
So if he wasn't evil, he was
Good.
perfect. Good? Here how the argument goes. God is absolutely perfect. God cannot create anything imperfect. But perfect creatures cannot do evil. Therefore, neither God nor his perfect creatures can produce evil. Now, that sounds logical enough. Good? Let me read it again. God is absolutely perfect. God cannot create anything imperfect. But perfect creatures cannot do evil. Perfect creatures cannot do evil. Therefore, neither God nor his creature nor his perfect creatures can produce evil. So now,
The angel does.
where did evil come from? No, it covers the angel, it covers everything, because we're talking about the creators. Listen to it again. I want you all to listen. I want you all to bring your mind together with this study.
Who wrote that?
God is an absolute,
Perfect.
God is absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. That means there isn't any imperfection. God cannot create anything imperfect. Could God create anything that is imperfect? No, he only creates what is perfect, beautiful. But perfect creatures cannot do evil. But perfect creatures cannot do evil. But perfect creatures cannot do evil. Therefore, neither God nor his perfect creature can produce evil.
So,
Where did evil come from? So now that's the argument that is before us. Where did evil come from? So we're going to now he says the mind. Now look at how this is where it gets deep in philosophical discourse.